visa runs in Malaysia. Living on a tourist visa. Is it actually possible? Can it be done? This is probably the most discussed thing in my comment section on the channel is visas and people asking me, how am I staying here? People saying, you're not going to be there for long, they're not going to let you in one of these times. It comes up constantly, every single video. And so I want to make this video talk a little bit about it, even though I'm not an authority source. I'm not somebody who has all the answers. I don't work for immigration. I don't, I only know what I know. But I want to talk about my experience and from being on the ground, some things I've heard and, some things I know from talking to people. Now, so far I've been in the country for around 4 months. I've spent around 4 months here. And I've entered the country 6 times this year. So I entered Malaysia 6 different times this year. And so far, I have not had any issues and I've not so much as been asked any questions at all. Now, I have to say right away, as an American, I do have a bit of a privilege here. And that is that there are e-desks, or there's like kiosks that I don't ever need to talk to an immigration officer when I come into the country. I simply swipe my passport, I slide my passport, scan it, it takes a photo of me and I enter the country. I don't speak to anybody. I don't need to wait in line or anything like that. I think there's 10 countries that are eligible for it. And that's how I always enter, because I could line up if I wanted to, but I could also go the other direction and just use the machine. And now this is only in Kuala Lumpur. So the time that I did enter one time by land, like near Rantau Panjang, that was different. That there was an immigration officer. And then otherwise I have entered through Penang as well. And there was an immigration officer there. So 2 of the times for Penang, 1 of the times Rantau Panjang, and then 3 times in Kuala Lumpur I arrived. Potentially 4 times now, since I actually just got back again like about a week ago. I believe it's 7 times. 7 times that I've entered the country this year. And now one of the things that people like to say, that people like to comment is like, oh, you can only enter 2 times a year or something like that. You can only enter a certain amount of times per year. That's not true. There's not any set number of times you can enter the country in a year. Another thing people often like to say is, you must leave for at least X amount of time, at least 1 week, or you must leave for longer than you stayed in Malaysia, or at least the same amount of time that you stayed there. Also not true. When I leave, I typically leave for anywhere. So far, it's been anywhere from 4 days to 2 weeks. And I always stay in Malaysia longer than that, I think the longest stint I've actually had here in one go is like a month and a half. And I think this is a big factor. I say I think because I don't actually know, right? But I think that if you stay for 3 months at a time, the full 3 months, as an American at least, we're allowed 3 months in the country, visa exemption. We don't even need to apply, nothing like that. If you stay the full 3 months, and then you decide, okay, I'm going to do a border run. You leave for a couple days, 1 week, and you come back, and you stay another 3 months. That's 6 months that you stayed. That is a pretty obvious thing looking in your passport that you're kind of living here. You're kind of making this your home, right? And so I believe that there's a big difference between coming and going into the country, in and out of the country, in shorter durations, never staying more than 2 months, never staying a full 3 months here. I think that's a better look. I think even staying here for a month and a half, then leaving for a week and coming back doesn't look so bad. And so Yeah, I want to talk about somebody I met here, another American. He's been here for about a year and a half, and he doesn't have a visa. He only stays on tourist visa. And he also only comes in on the electronic kiosk. He only comes in through Kuala Lumpur. You know, he said he's never come in not through Kuala Lumpur. And so I don't know what would happen if he tried to leave at some point and come in through a different checkpoint. Who knows? But he's never had any type of issue. He always goes to Thailand and comes back. He's never went anywhere else, just to Thailand and back to Malaysia. And he typically stays for around 2 months. He has the same idea as me that staying for a full 3 months is probably just a bigger red flag in general. And even with the kiosk, you know, I'm sure it's very well possible that you could scan the passport and it could say like, go talk to somebody in person, go see an immigration officer, you know, if there's something weird. But just him having been in the country for 9 months of the year. So he spent the last 9 months here. The last 9 months out of the last year, he's been here. And so another thing people like to say is, you can only stay in the country for 6 months out of the year. It's a hard and fast rule, you know, it's a written rule, or even it's an unwritten rule. They won't let you stay more than 6 months. I've had people, specifically one person, comment saying that if you stay for 5 months and then you leave and come back, they're only going to give you 1 month on the passport. You know, you're not getting a 90-day stamp. And this is just not the case. In general, this is not the case. This is not how the system works. Now, I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm not saying that an immigration officer can't give you 30 days only instead of 90 if they want to. If they see fit, you know, they can do what they want. But it's not like standard procedure. It's not how the system works. It's not like an automatic thing that, oh, this guy's been here for this long, he only gets another 1 month. There is no written rule. None in that regard. So like technically on paper, you can leave and come back as many times as you want. And it's strictly up to the immigration officer. I believe firmly as well that being well dressed, presenting yourself well, you know, being kind of walking up, saying hello, give a smile. Yeah, just look presentable, look good. I think this is a big deal. I think they take this kind of thing very seriously. And even if you look presentable, I'd say probably try not looking like a backpacker either. That's another thing. Like, I don't know what it is, but like, I think that they're not such a fan of this type of like tourists necessarily. As much as they do prefer like tourists like me, people coming in, visiting, doing tourist stuff, not just like living here, not just being an expat, you know, going in and out, going to different countries. They don't usually mind this. This is typically something, sorry folks, nowhere I can really walk right here. So it's kind of a difficult spot. I'm going to walk the other direction. But then the lighting is bad. Can't cross now. Oh, it's all right. Whatever. Yeah, I think presenting yourself well and being well dressed, maybe looking like you have some money, even if you do not. I think that's a key. You know, I think it's a very important thing in the whole this whole visa run situation. And you know, I found a lot of times in my life, just being well dressed and presentable, and a white guy from America, you know, you can get away with a lot. You can you know, you can get a lot of privilege just from that. It's just the way it goes. And so, yeah, for something like this, use that to your advantage. Like, you know, don't give them a reason to not like you or to think the wrong thing, right? And so, people waving, I love it. Full car of people, 5 people waving. It reminds me, yesterday I took a taxi here, and the guy was like, I recognize you. And I was like, maybe like YouTube? And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, were you walking around the city like talking about living in Malaysia or something? I'm like, That was definitely me. But anyways, back to the topic. Visa runs. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say that you will never have an issue. I'm not going to sit here and say I will never have an issue. I'm not going to act like I'm invincible or special and that an officer can never, say something to me and not let me in the country. Of course, it can very well happen. But I think there are ways to mitigate the chances. And I think, if I wouldn't have met this person who has been here so long, I'd be a little bit less sure in my mind that it's possible. But I know now that it is possible. You can even read around on sites like Reddit. People do stay in the country for 2-3 years doing visa runs, especially pre-pandemic. It was a common thing. Maybe they're cracking down. Maybe, sure, people get denied and stuff, but I do think it depends a lot how you look and how you carry yourself. So, and again, how long are you staying in the country? I've always thought, if they did stop me and say something, if they asked me, are you working? Where are you working? That's a tough one, right? I think it's always better to say you're not working, of course. I mean, but when it comes to something like YouTube, you never know how much something like that could actually maybe benefit. Me saying I'm a YouTuber, I'm just here, I'm here to film some content in Malaysia. I've just been coming in and out of the country, filming stuff here, touring around the country. I'd imagine there are a percentage of the immigration officers, for example, that would like that. They would think that, oh, that's interesting, that's cool. Maybe they watch YouTube vloggers, something like that. And maybe they're more likely to stamp the passport. But then, of course, maybe there are other cases where they take that as, oh, well, you're working in the country. This is very much a gray area now that digital nomads, YouTubers, freelancers, all of this is becoming a thing. It's becoming, it's becoming a thing where it didn't used to be. And so actual laws and regulations around working somewhere, it's quite a gray area at this point. It really is. Especially if your country, for example, is set in the United States, you're getting paid in the US, even through YouTube, getting paid US dollars and paying taxes to the United States, which has a tax treaty with Malaysia. It's a gray area. You never know. And so with something like that, I think it's always better to say that, I'm not working, I'm just traveling, I'm a tourist, I've saved money, something like that. Because they do want you to know that music is crazy. They do want to know that you have some money. But better that you're not working. They especially don't want people coming into the country and working local jobs, taking local work. That is the number one thing that they don't want. That's the primary thing they are actually there to prevent, is people entering the country who aren't going to leave or who are going to be working jobs that Malaysian people could be working. And so you never want to give anybody that impression. I think it's being a freelancer, being a digital nomad, I think that's a little bit more it's a little bit better. It's much better for them. It's you could argue that you are still taking a job, a Malaysian person could still be doing that same job. You could argue that it drives prices up in the neighborhood, that it drives housing prices up, things like that, and makes it harder for local people. I get those arguments. So, I think that's a whole separate topic for another video when it comes to the ethics and stuff behind how freelancers affect the economy. But that's not what this is about. But just sidetracking a little bit. But I've not had an issue yet, and so I'm grateful that I've not had any problems. I've not been questioned. I'm happy that there is an automated system that I can use, and I don't need to see an immigration officer every single time. And I'm glad that it's not going to trip up the system if I'm in the country for a certain amount of months or something like that. But we will see, right? We will see. I would love to get the MM2H visa and actually stay longer, not have to worry about it. But it's not feasible. This visa is pretty much for, I say, rich folks, you know, people who are quite well off. They've made it very hard for like the average foreigner to come in and stay in the country for a long time legally without spending the money, without having money, having, you know, a good financial status and backing, and also spending the money. And so there is another option which I've looked into, which is the MM2H in Borneo. That's much easier to get. But then you have to spend a certain amount of days of the year. I don't think it's that many, but I think maybe it's 60 days or something in Borneo. And otherwise it works the same. But the requirements are much, much, much less. So that is an option. That's an option. I do believe there's another one. It's like a 1-year visa. Is it called like the D Rantau? I don't know what it's called. Something. And somebody recommended that to me in the comments. I haven't really looked into it. I don't know what the requirements are. But yeah, for now, I've kind of committed to just doing the tourist visa thing and coming in and out of the country. Primarily because I'm a YouTuber and it's not really a big issue for me to leave for a moment. You know, I'm a single guy as well. I don't have family here. I don't have like roots here. So just getting up and going for a bit, or, you know, if I did get denied, right, it wouldn't be the end of the world. You know, I don't have my belongings here. I don't keep like a ton of stuff here. You know, all my stuff is in Thailand. Now, of course, I could always be denied entry to Thailand as well, but that has never happened to me either. I've entered many times, and they've even loosened things up recently. It's now become very easy to stay in Thailand, especially with the DTV visa. It's like you can stay forever, actually. They've made it very easy to stay forever. Spend $200 every 6 months and you have no problem. You can extend it repeatedly and stay in the country. And I'm praying that Malaysia at some point, you know, hopefully, like maybe the numbers in Thailand, maybe we will see the tourist numbers go way up. I'd imagine we will. And so hopefully something in the future can happen like this here, where, you know, we can have a 6-month visa that's not super expensive, and then we can renew it, you know, something where we can fuel the economy, but not, you know, not necessarily need to be freaking rich to actually stay here. And so, yeah, we'll see. It took all these years. People have been wanting this in Thailand. It took forever. So you can never say never. You never know what will happen in the future. But for now, you know, it's, you know, we got to do the best we can with what we have. But until I get denied, until I have a problem, these are kind of the thoughts that I'm going to have. This is kind of the, this is kind of how I'm going to think things work, right? We will see. We will see. Time will tell. If I do end up staying here, no problem. The rest of this year, leaving, re-entering, the rest of this year, you know, I will feel pretty confident that I can keep doing that for a bit. And maybe there will be one time that I just get screwed because I have to see immigration. But I'm going to make every effort to just come in through KL so that I can use the machine. Especially after I'm here for 6 months, 1 year, I will only come in through KL. The land borders are actually a bit more scrutinized, so that's really where you have concern is the land borders if you've been here for a while. And so at least this is what I've been told, is avoid the land borders unless like you're, you know, really not long staying at all. So yeah, something to think about. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comments. Please let me know. Try not to just spew a bunch of crap just that you've heard one time or something like that. Try not to just like, I don't know, you know, the same thing that people have been doing. You can only enter twice a year. You can only, don't just throw something out there that is completely BS and not true. But if you know somebody, if you've been here and you've met people who have long stayed on a tourist visa or who have been denied, I'd love to hear it. Let me know. Yeah, I'd love to hear like what you think that they should do. What do you think Malaysia should have? What options should they have for us? Because I don't think the current options are very good, and I don't think it's it's not very inviting. And I know you guys want to keep Malaysia like special, and you don't want it to get too crazy with tourism, maybe like Thailand is now. But it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be inviting and feasible for foreigners to come in and stay here if they do want to stay here. It's not going to bring in the wrong type of tourist. It's just going to allow people to stay if they do want to stay. So yeah, thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Drop a thumbs up on the video. I'd really appreciate it. And I will see you in tomorrow's vlog.